Hey guys, it's Chris with City Your Homestead, and time for Thankful Thursday. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I've been reading my Bible in that Bible in a year, and I seen a verse that really stepped out to me, and so I want to do something with that verse today. And what I did is I went on that AI thing, and it showed me more things about the verse and whatever. And I'd kind of like to do that today because it really did. I've heard it before, but you know how sometimes you're going through and I don't retain well what I read. But sometimes, you've heard something in the past and then all of a sudden it's there again and you're like, oh, really? Okay. So that's what this verse is doing. And so I would like to go over that today. So, let's start in prayer and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for everything that you do for us. We want to thank you through the good times and the bad, and worship and stand behind you in the good and the bad. Sometimes we know the bad outweighs the good, and that's really scary. But we know that you're there to carry us along. I always think about the footprints in the sand, and I really do honestly believe you pick us up and you carry us when we can't walk ourselves. There's so much going on in this world right now, Lord, that we really, really need you, and we're crying for your help. Show us that you're there. Let us know that you're there. I ask all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so my neighbor, she had seen all the green tomatoes that I had, and she says, you should make pickled tomatoes. Well, then when I started looking at it today, I'm like, oh, shoot, she wanted sweet ones. Well, those you have to sit in the refrigerator for a long time and whatever, so maybe we'll do those next week. But I do have a quick, easy recipe on how to do pickled ones. So we'll see if we like these. If not, we won't make them again. I'm only going to make 1 quart. So what we're doing, I cored them already. Now I just want to put them into, little slices like this. We're going to put those in that jar. I hope anyway, the liquid that I've got is enough to do 1 full quart. We'll see. I know I had something completely different written out for today for my Thankful Thursday. And then I read that the other day and I'm like, no, I got to talk about this one. I know this year's the tomatoes. I'm hoping to get 11 more pints, but you guys, they're cracking like crazy because we got so much water, so much rain, and not only that, but they're, some of them have split, so like I have Tom take them off when they're blushing so that, maybe we don't have that problem, but he hasn't had much time to get out there, so yeah. But this year they're just not as nice as last year, and they're certainly not as big. Normally I get really nice big ones, and not this year. I might have poured too many of them. That's alright, I got a pint jar over here I can do up later and use those up. I've been looking for stuff since they're not really ripening well. I've been looking for things to use them for so that they don't all go to waste. I mean, a lot of them will go to Tom's work because a lot of the people there really like green tomatoes, and, they'll fry them up and stuff like that. So we'll get rid of a lot of them. It's just very discouraging because, you put all that time and everything into them, but nothing's guaranteed. So, whatever I get from my garden this year, I'll be grateful for. And we've been moving things, so hopefully after the tomatoes are all gone, we'll have everything moved closer to the house. It'll still be on Jack's property, but closer to our house. Alright, so we've got that filled, and I had 4 more that I had taken the things out of, but that's alright. So now it says to take 1 cup of water and 1 cup of vinegar. Then it says a tablespoon of sugar and a tablespoon of salt. And then we want to stir that up so that those things can dissolve in the water. Doesn't normally take long to do that either. Now I want to put some mustard seeds in mine just because I want to be different. So I'll tell you what, with doing all those cucumbers this year, I really went through a lot of mustard seed. Now we're going to pour that over top. Hopefully I have enough liquid to fill the entire thing up. And I do. And there might be enough there actually to do the pint as well. But I just won't do that right now. So I'm going to shake it up a little bit. Let the seeds get down a little bit. And then you want to let them sit in the refrigerator for, 5, 6, 7 days before you try them, because it takes time to, get everything pickled. All right, so I think I'll have enough to do that pint, and I'll do that up after I finish this. So then maybe we can try it too. All right, so what I was thinking about was Ecclesiastes, I can't even say it right. 3:1, and it says the overview. It states that there's a time for everything, a season for every activity under heavens. The verse introduces the concept of divine timing and order of life. And it says, so the key themes are purposeful living. Every event has an appropriate moment, suggesting that nothing occurs by chance. And, that's part of it when I pulled up the AI part that was like, oh my gosh, that is so, so right. Because have you ever been like, you went to go leave work and, or home or whatever, and something, oh shoot, I had to turn around and go get something. And had you not, you might have gotten in a really bad accident or something like that. And, when you think about it like that, there's nothing that happens by chance. It just wasn't your time. God's sovereignty. The verse reflects the belief that God has established specific times for all events and activities. And you know how we all say, in God's time, not our time. And sometimes it's so frustrating because we want it to be in our time, like right now. And that just doesn't happen. Excuse me. Life's seasons. A cynical nature. The idea of seasons implies a natural cycle, similar to agricultural patterns. And if you notice that, life does go like that. We go in seasons, like in the summertime, I'm like, oh yeah, when we're out running around and doing things, and, your vitamin D is up because you've been doing stuff, and you know what I mean, you've been outside and whatever. And in the winter, you come in and you're like, oh, I don't know if you live in a cold state, but we do. And man, I'll tell you what, sometimes even when it ain't right snowing, it's like, oh, we're staying inside. Embracing change. Each season of life, whether joyful or challenging, serves a purpose. And actually, that's going to kind of roll into what I'm doing next week that I was going to do today. But I think that every season of life has a purpose. And even every person that comes into our life has a purpose. And they might only be there for a season and that's it. Or they might be there for a lifetime. But I think that every portion of our life has a reason. So, now let's read the verse. There's a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to hear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. And when I read that, I had to read it a couple of times, because if you go back into it and you think about certain times of your life, and, you know, that pretty much puts our life in a nutshell. It really, really does. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, how can it be that simple? But he's covered it all right there. You know, like, there is a time for everything. There is a time for, you know, and I think it fits in really good right now. You know, a lot of us are having bad times and hard times, and it's really hard. And, you know, you think about it and you're like, oh. But there's a season for everything, a time for everything. My throat is dry this morning. One second. Been drinking tea like crazy. Like, the time to be born and time to die, I don't like the time to die. I don't like that at all. But if you even think about it, where it says a time to plant and a time to uproot. Okay, so we planted this spring, and now it's getting into fall, and it's time to pull it out. You know? I mean, when we think about this, it really does cover everything. And a time to kill and a time to heal. I don't think we're supposed to go out and kill people, but, you know, we heal from the pain. And then there's a time to tear down things and a time to build them. And, you know, sometimes our life gets, for the lack of a better word, torn down. And we might have went through a lot of crap, you know what I mean? And we have to rebuild. There's always that time, if you see what it says, a time to tear down and a time to build. It doesn't say build then tear down. It says the opposite. So he has faith in us that he knows that we can rebuild anything that fails. And the one part of it that really got me, and I will tell you the story without crying, hopefully. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. My mom died in 2014, January. The last 14 days of her life, she was in hospice because there's just no way that we could get her the medicines and everything that she needed. And, you know, the night that she passed, I'd asked my sister and my niece, could I, because we'd been over there during the day with my boys and everything. And I asked her, could you guys leave the room? I want to talk to Mom. And she was basically in and out, like in a coma. And I said to her, I said, you know, anything I've ever done wrong, I hope that you forgive me. I forgive you, and know that I love you, and all those good things that, you know, you would tell a family member that you know that they're going to be gone. And I said to her, I said, I don't know if I can do this, Mom. I don't know if I can sit here and watch you die and watch you take your last breath. And, you know, I said, because I have a really hard time with death. So Tom kept calling me, and I says, well, let me go out in the car, and then I'll call you back. And he's like, okay. So I went out to the car, and I'm talking to Tom, and then all of a sudden my sister calls in. Mom's gone. And, you know, I got out of the car, and I walked into the house, started to walk up to the hospice house, and all of a sudden I started laughing because my mom got the last word. I mean, she was gone within minutes after I left the room. And I think she knew she made the choice for me. And how I could go from tears to laughter in such a quick amount of time. Because I thought, yep, she got the last word. I said I wasn't going to do that, right? But when I seen that, I thought about that particular moment. Because there is times to cry, and there is times to heal. There's a time to mourn, and then, like, you know, you think about all the funny things and whatever when someone passes, and you mourn. But then when you think about all those things, you laugh. Like with Tom's brother dying this week, you're seeing all kinds of silly pictures of him and whatever, and, you know, it's very sad that he's gone, but it's also, you know, you seeing the character that he was and everything else. And, you know, it's a way of dealing with your mourning. You know what, if that makes any sense. Sorry about that. I never mean to cry. A time to gather stones and gather them. A time to embrace and time to refrain from embracing. And that one hit me really, really hard too, because over the last year, you know, I've lost my brother, and relationships have changed. And not that I'm complaining about the relationships changing, because honestly, I think it's for the best. And it's taken quite a while to learn that. And, you know, you grow from it. But you embrace something that you want to hold on to that might not just be there to hold on to, and maybe it's for a reason. And this, a time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. We all know that with our houses, right? One of these days I'll go through a deep cleaning and get rid of a bunch of stuff. But anyway, actually I don't have a lot to get rid of, but, you know, there's still those things that you're like, but, you know, we keep looking for something when maybe it's right in front of you. Maybe the answer is right in front of you. A time to tear and a time to mend. And when it comes to death and you know, loss or whatever, you know, you get teary. And like, I just got teary about my mom. And I do miss my mom every day. I miss my grandma every day, you know, but there's a time to mend. And my relationships that have gone away in the last year and then the last month and a half, I'm mending from them, and I'm stronger because of them, and I'm actually less stressed and happier. I know that sounds funny. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. I hope that we never actually hate anyone, because I don't think we're supposed to do that. Pray for them, forgive them, love them through it. If they never come back, that's okay. Hate is such a strong word. Just like maybe, like I always say that, you know, I love everybody. It doesn't mean I gotta like everybody. You know, I think hate can be very, it destroys the inside of you, and no one's worth taking that from you, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I don't know if today made any sense, and I don't know exactly why it hit me the way that it did. But maybe you guys feel the same way. Maybe you guys are like, oh, she said it. You know what I mean? Like, she said it. And sometimes you know, when you're reading something or you're going through something or whatever, you know, I think that, you know, like if you ever open up the Bible and go, okay, I got this question, you go, and you push it and, oh my gosh, you know, it turns out to be something that you needed. Or, you know, like I'll be reading something in the Bible and it'd be like, oh, I really needed to hear that. Why hadn't I heard that before? You know, and it's like it comes out when it needs to. And I've noticed that reading the Bible, like some days it's a lot of chapters. But anyway, I've noticed that there's things that I've not caught before in all the times that I've read the Bible. And that's nice, but there's a lot of things I'm still not retaining. I'm terrible about that. I don't know why. I've always been that way. And it's not just with the Bible. I'm more of a visual person, I think. But anyways, I hope that maybe, you know, those verses helped someone else. And that, you know, maybe it helped to answer some of the questions that you guys have too. I think in this big old life that we have a lot of questions. Do we always get the answer? Maybe not. Maybe we never will. Maybe we won't till we get to heaven. Maybe we won't then either. I don't know. But sometimes it's nice to just know it's not just you. No matter what we do in this big old world, it doesn't matter if you're in the U.S. or if you're in Australia or, you know, Africa. It doesn't matter where you are. We're all one people and we're all going through the same thing. And we all need to be there for each other and love each other. That's just how it works. So anyways, again, I hope it helps somebody. And, you know, thanks for letting me vent and sorry for crying again. I know, Sherry's going to say, stop saying sorry. But I don't like to cry on camera. It's just not my thing. But anyways, if it touched you, let me know. You know, if you're like, Chris, you're out of your mind, let me know that too. And if you need prayers, just put it below. So I want to thank you guys for everything. You're the best group out there. And I love you, each and every one of you. And I truly, truly do. You guys mean the world to me. You guys have a blessed day. Be a blessing. And I will see you at supper.